a question from Zach. I wanted to ask you a bit of a spiritual question. I've been lifting seriously for 15 years now, and it has brought me much joy and peace in my life. Yet I also recognize that all the time I spend trying to get stronger and look better increases my spiritual attachment to the physical self. I've recently thrown myself into Judaism, which has been wonderful, and I discovered that Judaism, similar to Eastern philosophies, warns of the spiritual dangers of attachment to the body. But I can't imagine life without training. Training empowers me so much, and I'm always calmer and happier for the rest of the day after it. I know you spent much of your life studying religions, so I wanted to ask your opinion. Where is the balance? Okay, so Western civilization is, that's my thing, okay? I taught the classes, I studied it my whole life. Even as a child, I was in the Great Books program. My college professor made us read Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle in a poli-sci course, political science course, because, he felt that was the way. And so my whole career has been based on this idea of the unity of the body, mind, soul, and spirit. Sound mind in a sound body. So it's difficult for me to answer this particular question because I don't necessarily agree with this idea of what you're, and you said attachment. See, because when you go into those areas, like I have traveled extensively around the world, and of course I've studied a lot of this stuff my whole career. When you go and you study the traditions of, like China, the philosophy and religions of China, you'll notice that they're always wound with Tai Chi and the martial arts. Many of the meditative arts of Japan, the Ki, or Chi, I guess, in other places. One of the things is the emphasis on certain body positions. And of course, yoga, which means yoke, which is basically the same root as the word religion, which is interesting, I've always thought. One of the most famous things about yoga, which is of course the physical work on it. And the argument is that we put ourselves in these positions, we test ourselves physically to free up the mind. Of course, then you read Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, which I still think is, I put Man's Search for Meaning for strength coaches right up there with Freakonomics, or Think Like a Freak, actually, as books I recommend, because these give you, Think Like a Freak teaches you kind of the rules to be successful in any field, and Man's Search for Meaning kind of gives you the idea of what the human mind can do. Our last freedom is our ability to choose what we're going to think in any situation. I think that is a marvelous thing, Frankl. I think it's a marvelous thing to keep in my pocket. So, I understand as an academic this concept of detachment, but for me, I have done things in my life in the physical that frees up the mental. St. Augustine said, it is solved by walking. Salvadalo ambulodo or something like that. Sorry, that was a long time ago I taught that. And so for me, going for a walk makes me a better writer. It's funny to think most great writers are also great walkers. So I understand the point. I do worry a little bit about this idea that I'm going to detach myself fully from it. I want to free my mind up. I want to free my spirit up to allow me to be better in all the other areas of this unified person that I am. Whew, I didn't expect. I read these earlier, and even when I read this one, I knew this would be I knew my answer wouldn't be very satisfactory. It's but I thought it was a fun question to answer. But just remember, walking frees my reading ability up. My training makes me more disciplined about my eating. My sleeping makes me more disciplined about my habits. My habits make me more disciplined. I worried about your question getting a little bit into a little bit of either or, where I'm an absolute both and person in this conversation. Okay? So thank you.